this is easily one of the weakest drops that Kanye West has ever put out.
I think it's the worst. Can we just agree that it's the worst project if it stands
Yeah.
as it is? Because it's hard to judge it because it's not really completed yet.
It's not
You know what I
completed
mean?
yet. I feel you. It's not completed yet, but even at that, the type of sonics that are coming out, are they even aging well? Because, okay, I'll take it from my standpoint. I'm a Kanye fan. If you guys are watching the channel, you guys understand that. And we've covered a lot of Kanye material. And I feel as if every time we have a conversation about Kanye, we always talk about his creativity, his catalog, the type of presence he has on a track. And I feel as if those three main components were missing on the Donda 2 drop, besides security. Realistically, like, do you even go back to the track list now that you don't necessarily have the stem player anymore? And I mean, it's available on the website? There's no streaming platforms on it?
I don't really care to go back to the project. And what's sad, too, is the fact that for the first time ever, I've heard Kanye material, and I reached the point now where it's 2 months after we got Donda 2 on the stem player. And at this point, I really don't care if it gets released.
But to be honest with you, I think that you have to kind of be fair, though. Like, it's not finished, apparently. Apparently so. It's not finished. And I think
that's why
it's
hard to judge it as a complete body of work because the changes could be miraculous. But, like, as it stands right now, it is the weakest project Kanye's put out. Like, I would put Jesus is King above this version of Donda 2.
Oh, absolutely. There was great cohesion, within Jesus is King. And that's what I love about Kanye projects is you go in and, like, there's this focus. There's this beautiful direction that moves you through the track list. And listen, I don't know if it's because it was on a different platform or if it was released differently, but let's just agree on this. Like, the drops lacked cohesion. There wasn't anything going on with them. And to be honest with you, like, a lot of these tracks just felt like Lucy's off of Donda. And what do you think's happening now? Do you think it's a situation that Kanye released it and, okay, the promo went well for the stem player and, everyone got their fix, let's say, for like the week that it's been out and people have been revisiting it here and there and kind of just dropped it? Because now it's like Digital Nas is coming out and saying that he's working on something new. So how do you feel about this whole phase, and what do you think is happening with this Donda 2 drop? Because there's people waiting for updates at this point.
I mean, look, when Kanye is going through a loss or if he's coping with a tumultuous situation in his life, he kind of seems to resort to music to creatively express himself. And I really applaud him for that because it takes a lot to kind of, change the narratives that maybe TMZ are putting out there or other news outlets. I like the fact that he uses music to really speak his mind. But at this point, the whole Donda 2 title doesn't even seem fitting because conceptually there's nothing relating to his mother on what we heard on the Donda 2 Miami version. So I don't even know if it has any real purpose. And not only that, but it's reached the point where I don't even think the fans really care all that much if it does get released. But do you think he's working on it right now? Because I feel like he won't abandon the project. You know what I mean? Because he never really has done that before.
No, he's never really abandoned music, and it's always been this creative spurt within his career, and like you could see how he enters different phases into his life, how he gets into a new creative zone. And I guess the only thing we could really hope for is that we get Donda 3 maybe, because that's what I was talking about with Digital Nas. He came out on April 3rd and, said that apparently, hey, listen, this is in the works and this might be coming out.
But how the fuck does that make sense when Donda 2 isn't finished yet?
No, but that's what's scaring me though, okay? Because think about it from a consumer standpoint, right? You just paid all that money for a stem player and now there's word that a new album's in works and the one that you initially bought into is not finished. So do you feel as if you kind of got gypped on that end?
100%. I mean, we bought a stem player. A lot of people bought stem players and, you pretty much paid $200 for a body of work that's not complete, and that felt super rushed. I mean, I don't think anybody was really craving a new Kanye album when he announced Donda 2.
I disagree with you.
Well, I mean, look, you can make the argument that someone's fucking craving a Kanye album every second day.
I'm craving a Kanye album right now. Like, anytime he drops, I'll be in the saddle for it. But that's
all I'm saying is that the other issue, too, is that, I mean, Kanye's been known to be that artist to reinvent himself with every release and come with a new style, come with a new sonic approach, but now with the word of Digital Nas saying Donda 3 is going to be a new project coming out this year, because someone asked him, which project are you looking forward to the most in 2022? He said Donda 3. So is he turning this into like a fucking Fast and Furious franchise? Like,
but how do you expect him?
Something that
I get you, but how do you expect him? How do you expect him to reinvent himself when all of these projects are being released within 6 months of each other? That's another thing, right? Like, think about it like that. Like, an artist needs to be able to go through moments in life and to be able to, grab creativity from certain things, and we know that, like Kanye has stated that on many different occasions that events in his life directly correlate to the creativity that go within the projects.
Yeah.
So now, He releases the original Donda back in August, end of August. He goes with Donda 2, I believe it was in the month of February. And then you look at now what's happening with Donda 3, or even these updates, because the only update to Donda 2, let's say, okay, you want to talk about updates, I believe it was Fabio Foreign was added to We Did It Kid
on March 20th.
And then after that, like, you guys could go into the engineering and talk about, like, you know, what maybe switches were done here and there.
Very minimal stuff.
But for the most part, it still feels really unfinished. So do you think it's just a product of, like, you know, Kanye's dropping, you know, too much at a certain point? Because that's where I feel as if he's at right now, at least in my opinion, with, you know, the STEM player coming out and this new version.
I mean, listen, at the end of the day, I mean, you know, Kanye is definitely, I think, focusing on spending time with his family and doing some stuff related to his personal life. I guess music is not really on his mind right now, but I think he does owe it to the fans to really complete the project at a certain point, or maybe give us an update on when we could expect some new additions or whatever it is.
You expect that from Kanye?
No, because he's not vocal with us at all. But I mean, besides that, like, the most recent thing that we got in terms of someone working on the project saying something was Mike Dean last month, saying that he's mixing like a motherfucker, you know, for Donda 2. So I don't know what's going to end up happening, but it's just an interesting situation because at a certain point, do you think that, like, let's say Donda 2 does get completed, do you see a scenario where it ends up being released on streaming platforms, or do you see it really staying exclusive to the stem?
That's fucking hard. I mean, why would you release it on streaming platforms if the album's just incomplete, right? It feels really weird.
Yeah.
Okay, go through the whole track list again.
But I'm saying once it's done, though. I'm saying once it's done, could you see it going on streaming?
Once it's done. But I mean, like, once it's done, it might be a whole different fucking track list. You know, like, that's my issue right now is if you go through Donda 2, that should not be, I would say, considered within his discography.
Well, it sounds like a bunch of demos. I mean, he's mumbling a lot of the verses. It sounds like it was first take verses being thrown on the record. Like, it really shows that, like, if someone told me this was made in a couple of weeks, I could believe it. Just
do you appreciate that, though? Because the thing is,
I do appreciate it, depending what the final result is.
Okay.
If it's very similar to what it sounds like now, then I'll have that mindset locked in that this was a rushed body of work and that, you know, Kanye standards don't really, you know, match up to this. So, I mean, in terms of the streaming conversation, I feel like maybe he'll do it eventually, maybe a year after it's complete, because think about it. The stem player, it's kind of a one-time purchase. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you put it on streaming, you're getting passive income for years and fucking years, even though you're getting 12% of what the entire industry makes. And the whole reasoning behind the stem player being put out was to, you know, put the power in the artist's hands. I love that idea, but at a certain point, I feel like to really eat off the music, he'll maybe have to go towards the streaming services.
But I don't even think he's in that career mode right now. You know, because listen, the guy's a billionaire. I don't think that he's worried about, you know, how much.
But for the producers to get royalties and that kind of stuff,
I get it.
I don't know what that situation is.
I get it. Like, because we don't understand. Not that we don't understand, but we don't understand what's going on, like, behind, let's say, everything, like how everything's getting distributed. But I could see why producers would get mad if they're not making their points off of certain productions and credits. But even at that, would you want this album on streaming services? I don't think I want it. I'm being honest with you. Like, I was going through Kanye's catalog the other day, and I was just appreciating every single listen I was going through. I did The Life of Pablo, fantastic. Yeezus, mind-blowing. MBDTF, legendary. Now, Donda, okay? Donda is up to a Kanye discography standards. It's there. You know, it feels like a Kanye album. A lot of work, a lot of vision went into it, took time to do it, a different phase in his life, a completely different era. Now, throw Donda 2 into that mix. I don't see that being on the level of those projects.
You don't see it having any value in his catalog compared to the rest. Yeah.
No, I mean, because he could release any of those songs as singles. I'm being honest with you.
And there are a couple of really good standouts.
Oh,
Security
absolutely.
is fantastic. Broken Road had an amazing hook by Don Toliver. The posthumous XXX Tentacion hooks were phenomenal. So it's not to say there weren't any highlights. It's just the songwriting seemed really low effort, and it just felt like nothing was really calculated with that whole release. So at this point, my final prediction would be that in a couple of months from now, we get a completed version. I really do think so. And maybe in a year from now, we'll get it on streaming. But right now, either people are going to keep buying that stem player or just fucking go to Pirate Bay and pirate it, because it did become the most pirated album worldwide in February.
Is that for real?
Yeah.
Okay,
really
like any
did.
album that's ever been released on
Well,
like,
during that time, from what I saw.
Okay, that's crazy. I actually never knew that. Wow.
It
So
was like
everyone's going to Pirate Bay.
2007 all over again. Yeah, man.
Everyone's going to Pirate Bay to get their stuff again. I mean,
Yeah.
it's tough for Kanye too, because I feel as if, like, you know, looking at his catalog right now, where does he move with it? Like, where does he go with it? Like, I don't want a Donda 3.
He's given us so much already, though,
Absolutely. He has a fucking legendary discography, one of the best within music. And I think that's why, like, you know, looking at this next version of Donda, it's going to have to be super well calculated, because if it ends up becoming what the stem player is, I don't know, man. Like, at that point, release an EP or release them as singles, because I'm not even a fan of the rapping, bro. Like, there's barely even rapping on them. Like, I really don't think that Kanye himself did that well of a job on certain songs.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that I don't like Kanye singing, but it's just... you compare it to Donda, you understand what's going on.
Yeah,
you know,
for
you
sure.
understand the dip off in quality. So that's at least where I stand.
Yeah,
with it
we'll
right
have
now.
to see. And I mean, do you think, last question after, you think there's a possibility of it being botched and he says, fuck it, I'm leaving this as it is, as the V2 Miami version. Now I'm moving on to something else.
Absolutely.
Think it's possible? Okay.
I would like that as a fan. I'm being honest with you. Like, at a certain point, just like cut the losses on the music.
And it would
you know?
make it more of a memorable moment in his career to look back on a moment where he attempted a project, maybe saw the issues within it, and said, you know what, there's nowhere further for me to bring this music, so I'm abandoning it and trying on a different project. That would be super refreshing, and again, play into that feeling, a feeling like you're in the studio with Kanye and that you're kind of seeing all of his process. So we'll have to see what ends up happening, guys. We're going to keep you updated with everything that happens with Donda 2. If there are updates, if there is a completed version, we are going to be doing a review on it. So stay tuned and hit that subscribe button if you have not already. And if the album does become complete, we are going to be doing a live album reaction to it on our Patreon plan. You can access that link in our description. We actually react to new albums every week on there, so check it out if that interests you. As always, guys, thank you so much for supporting us and checking in this video. We'll catch you in the next one.